2 years has passed in Genesis 41, and Joseph is still sitting in prison, waiting for somebody to call out his name and mention him to Pharaoh. One night, Pharaoh has two really strange dreams back to back. He dreamed that he saw seven really skinny, malnourished, ugly cows by a stream, and he saw seven fat, beautiful, well fed cows nearby. The seven skinny ate up the fat cows, but in the end, you couldn't tell that they had eaten anything because they were still skinny. The next dream he had right away was that he saw seven skinny stalks of corn and seven fat, full stalks of corn. The seven skinny ate up the seven full, but in the end, again, you couldn't tell that they had eaten anything because they stayed skinny. When Pharaoh woke up, he was very troubled, and he called for his servants to go get whoever they could find, magicians and just whoever was out there, sorcerers, come, interpret this dream, tell me what it means, but none could do it. Then finally, the butler remembered, oh, 2 years ago, I was in jail with a man, and he told myself and the baker our dreams and what they meant. And he was able to interpret them and interpret them correctly because, just like he said, in 3 days, you restored me to my position, and the baker you hanged. And this was in our dreams. He interpreted this. So Pharaoh said, hey, bring him to me, bring him. I want to talk to him. So they go get Joseph, and they clean him up, they fix up his hair, they put some clothes on him, and they present him to Pharaoh. Pharaoh tells him the story, well, not the story, but tells him the dreams that he had. And Joseph says, well, it's not in me that I can interpret your dream. This comes from God. I'll tell you what God gives me for this interpretation. There's going to be 7 years of prosperity all over Egypt. It'll be everybody eating good, businesses doing good, everybody able to take care of their families the way that they want to. But at the end of that 7 years, there's going to be 7 years of famine. Famine so bad that people won't even remember the 7 good years they just had. Although this wasn't really great news, Pharaoh honored his honesty and his discreetness. He could have tried to twist up the interpretation a little bit, that way it wouldn't sound so bad, that way Pharaoh couldn't possibly get mad at him and throw him back in prison or kill him, but he just stood firmly and just told the truth, told him what God gave him. Pharaoh said to his servants, in that case, we better start preparing for these 7 years of famine that's going to come. But who could, get everything together for us? Who can organize this? Because we're going to have a lot of work to do in these next 7 years. And he thinks to himself, well, actually, who better than Joseph right here? God speaks to him, and he's wise, and he's discerning, and he's very discreet with everything that he does. He chooses his words carefully. So why not him? Let's put him in charge. And he presents to him his ring, and he gives him nice clothes to wear. And this is where we figure out that Pharaoh had to have been black, because he gives Joseph a gold chain of all things to wear around his neck. Next, he gives him a chariot, the second chariot they call it, that he would ride in when he's going all around Egypt, and he's just seeing his people, and he's making declarations. And he says to the people, whatever Joseph tells you, do it. And basically do it in my name. He's going to be ruler of everything here in Egypt. No man lifts his foot or puts his hand to something without Joseph approving it, basically. And he says, he'll be second to me over everything, and only in things of the throne, matters of the throne, will I be above him. And he said, in my name, Joseph will go forth and rule. And of course, the 7 years of harvest and plentifulness and just everything coming to the people came to pass. And Pharaoh gave Joseph a wife, and they had 2 kids, or maybe even 3 kids. I think it was like 2 boys and a girl. And he was storing up food, so much corn he had to actually stop counting because it was so bountiful, the amount of corn that was brought in to the storehouse. And of course, eventually, the 7 years of famine came. And it was so bad that people from all over Egypt came over to see Pharaoh and say, please, please, give us bread, give us meat, give us corn, whatever you have. Let us have it. And Pharaoh said, go to Joseph, go see him. Whatever he gives you, that'll be your portion, basically. And the people went to Joseph, and they were able to get what they needed because Joseph was prepared. He listened to the word of God. He listened to Pharaoh, who was, set over him at that time period. And while he was ruling everything, he ruled wisely. He didn't just say, hey, eat all you want. We're rich. We have everything. We have all the resources. During the 7 years of prosperity, he allowed everybody to eat their portion that they needed, use the materials that they needed, and the rest was stored away. They brought it into the storehouse and they just stacked it up. And that reminds me a lot of now how with all this coronavirus and people out of work, it was like, kept thinking to myself, man, what were we doing the 7 years before this? We had 11 straight years of economic prosperity in America before this happened. And what were we doing before that? It's unfortunate a lot of people have lost their jobs and people are losing their lives. But for those who are fortunate, hopefully some of us were preparing, some of us were putting some things away, getting some matters, taken care of before all this happened, so that while we're off work for a few weeks, we can be sharpening our skills, we can be studying up on some things and getting some things together that will help us go back into the marketplace stronger than before all of this happened. So these next, say, 7 weeks, 7 months, whatever the amount of time is, we just want to be preparing and getting ourselves ready for when we come out of this. We want to hit the gate running. We want to be, if it's music ministries, we want to be hitting the songs, hitting the rehearsals like we've been on break, like we missed it, like we were hungry to be doing what we were doing before, right out the gate. If it's business, we need to be headed back to our companies with ideas, with whatever it is that we've been thinking about while we're at home for these last few weeks. Get those ideas on paper. Get those proposals in. Let the companies know these are my ideas for these next few seasons. If it's church, we got to serve each and every week like this is the last week that we're going to get to do it, because now we see churches can be closed up, drop of a dime. We never would have expected that not just 1 week, 2 weeks, several weeks, churches are closed. People can't come in to worship. We have to worship from home. We have to get our Bibles out and read and study from home and post things on the internet. Thank goodness we have these resources. But when we do get back in the building, it's got to be for real, like straight up kingdom business. Like, no sitting around just hugging and kissing, talking about how much we missed each other. It's time to get back to work.